but I wanted to the main thing I wanted to just talk about was really approach with it. All right, so connect to the database. You have these users, comments, posts, votes. I did this on purpose, like kind of showing you how to work with a date time in SQL, right? Because I knew that could be a little confusing. But you can just do that with a string, okay, for the value, right? And this is a date time column. And that works in Postgres as well. All right, so if a number of users in the database have a reputation over 100, we can skip that one. Let's do this one. Find the top 5 users with the highest average scores, only those users who have made more than 10 comments. Okay, so, all right, so I think this is on the comments table. So let's start by select all from comments, like limit 3. Just like look at the comments table. And you can see we have this user ID. Okay, so my main point, I think, of this review is just I would leave the joins until last. Okay, so like get as close to the answer as you can get to before doing any joins. That's generally like on the job, whatever. Like that's the way I would attack these problems. So what does that mean? If we want to find the top 5 users with the highest average score, like this information, give me 1 second, is, sorry. This information is really available just in this one comments table, right? We can group by the user ID, I think. And then the only thing we'll really need is to link up this column name, this display name thing. Select all from comments. Let's group by the user ID. There's no underscore. And what do we want? Probably the user ID for now. And maybe the average of the score. And let's call this as the average score. And then let's order by average score descending. And I would just always like to put in return. So select all from select user average score from the comments table, group by the user ID. So this is the average score by user, order by the average score descending. Let's limit 5 or something. And we got it all wrong. Oh, because we want only those users who have made more than 10 comments. So group by user ID, and here we would need a having clause. I think you all were pretty good about this, right? Because this is on the group, right? It's based on the grouping. So having count star greater than 5, something like that. Oh, more than 10. Order by that. All right, and we're getting there. Okay, and you can see, like already, like without having any joins, I'm able to check my work and, on the job, right? Obviously, you don't have the answers below, but you can start doing some sanity check, right? And see, oh wait, we're getting some perfect scores there. That doesn't make sense. It's probably because some users only did a couple of these. All right, so we basically have the answer already. We need to get further by switching out this column for the other one, but with just one table, we're pretty good. That's just about this. All right, so now we can join users on users.id equals comments.userid. And let's put this on its own line. And, we could just press shift return. We're getting the same answer back. And you could, at this point, this won't work in Postgres, but you could probably just do display name here. And it works. In Postgres, this will throw an error, right? The reason why is because with Postgres, if you do a group by and you're grouping by the user ID, it only, in terms of what you can display, you can, in your select statement, you only get to either display the column you're grouping by or an aggregate. So in this case, we have a mismatch where we're grouping by the user ID, but we're displaying the display name. So the way you can change this is there's a couple ways. One, if we know this is unique, which it probably is because it's like a username, you can group by the display name, and now you don't have a mismatch, right? The thing you're grouping by is everything that you're selecting is either an aggregate or something you're grouping by. So here you're good. The other way you can do it is you could group by both of these, and this way, even though there's a one-to-one, right? Like when we put these things in piles, these are, like we're creating the same piles essentially of users because these guys line up perfectly. But you could do it that way as well, right? You can group by both of these columns, and it should give you the same answer, right? Because let's just show it. You see that, like, whenever we have user ID 4394, we also have this, and so we put all of the comments rows of this user in the same pile and calculate the average, so we get the same answer. Does it matter if you put user ID first? No, I mean, you can put it, the order of, you can, like, for these questions, think about the way SQL's doing it. It's loading this up. It's loading up the, the comments table, then joining on the users table. So after it does those two things, then it's performing the group by, putting this data into piles, like into groups, all right, based on this information. And this is what happens last, right? After like the last step is to calculate the average. To do this, any of these things can be in any order, I believe. Probably, actually, I should keep the as average score together, but otherwise, we should be okay. User ID. This is kind of like the view, like what's in the select statement. It's essentially after almost all the work has been done, then the last step is like, what do I display back to the developer? Other questions about this? The only other thing, I mean, this thing was essentially the same. It was just, I mean, except of course this annoying thing about the scores being on, like, that column existing on multiple different tables. But in terms of like what it was trying to assess was like that you understand the difference between having and where. Like that's the main thing we're trying to get was like if I do it here, the top 5 users with the highest average scores join users where, right, the users dot, I forget if it's called created at. Let's just look. Select all from users, limit to reader. So there's some sort of creation date, right? So the idea here is where the users dot creation date is over whatever it said 2019. Okay, and again, like kind of the point is you want to think about how SQL is performing this. It's first limiting the data down to users where the creation date is 2019. Then it can join, so now it has a subset of users, and then it can join the comments, right? Link up those comments, and then put them into groups. And then after it does the groups, then it can calculate, okay, only those groups that have over 10, comments in them, and from there calculate the average score. Okay. So that was the point of that one. Okay, for this one, and William made a really nice point about this. So we'll do this normally, and then we'll update this. All right, find the number of users who have not made a comment. So so how do you do this? We need to get, if you think about it, give me all the users. And then, so we need all the users, and then somehow we need to find the user, from there, find the subset of users who have not made a comment. So what that means for me first is, like, I need all the users, so you have to do select all from users first. Then you have to join, or left join, the users.id, left join comments on users.id equals comments.userid. And what I did, like when I wrote out my solution the first time, what I did was I just did this and wanted to make sure like that I was on the right track, right? So I did, let's do limit 10. And I'll show you what I'm looking for. What I'm looking to see is that I have no values here, right? Because this is confirming to me that I have all my users, including those users who don't have a comment, right? That's what this is evidence of, okay? And then from there, we can put in a where clause of like where this is null. Like that would work. That's actually the next thing I did. We don't really need to do that, but just in terms of my logic, I said like where comments.id is null. You could just do that again, just to make sure like, all right, we're getting all these guys. These are everyone who didn't make a comment. But really probably what we should do is, instead of this, we should count, what would it be? No.
I use a subquery on that one. I don't know. I get the right answer. I don't know if it's right.
We don't need to. Maybe you can, but we don't need to, I don't believe. So let's see if we can do it without it. So it's give me all the users. I'm trying to think. It will be, can I subtract it? It's the number of users who have not made a comment. Oh, it's all these guys. Yeah, I'm on my way.
ID.
Yeah, we can just count we can count star, right? It's like, or we can count, because these are all the rows of users who have not made a comment. So let's do that, right? And that gives me the answer. Now, there's actually a very good point that my answer is wrong. Why is it wrong? Because, oh no, is this wrong? This part I think is fine. Count the users who have not made a comment. Let's just make sure. In other words, I want to look at the dimension of the data. Is null limit 3. So here, what I want to make sure is I have a different user each time, and each of these are users who have not made a comment. So I think we are good with this one. All right.
Jeff, I picked up, instead of comments.id, I picked up users.id is null. So that also gives me the same answer.
Yeah. That probably, well, it would have to be something on this table. So it would have to be where comments.userid is null, right?
Yeah, comments.userid is
that's
null.
fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, so basically all the records on the comments, when you're joining this, doing the left join, all of these are going to be null, right? Everything on the comments table for these records are null, right? Because there's no match for these users. Okay, let's move to the next one. So for this one, right, the important thing was load up the users first, because we want all the users, including, and then we can scope it down to those who made no comment and find them by doing a left join on comments. All right, so now we'll do the next one, and this is find the percentage of users who have not made a comment. Okay. So the idea here is if I do select all from users, left join, again, let's do like a limit 3 or something, just to get a sense of the data. So we have, these are all my users. And then to get the percentage who have not made a comment, it's someone with this attribute, where a column in the comments table is null. So one thing you can do, right, is we can count up the number of users who have made it. We can count up the number of users who have made it. We'll start it this way. But this will be our formula. Find the number of users, or the percentage of users who have made a comment. And let's say that's like, 25%. And then we'll just do 1 minus that percentage. Leads to, 75%. Right? So this is the way I did it, at least. Is I'm going to find the percentage of users who have made a comment, and then I'll just do 1 minus that. So how do I do that? So, okay, well, all the users who have made a comment is to do the count star of something on the comments table. Not count star, but count like this thing. Count comments.id is fine. So if I do a count of comments.id, this should show me, let's see, I'll just put this as number of commenting users, and we'll update this soon. Okay, so this is my number of commenting users, I think, kind of. And then we'll do the total number of users. And that will be count of users.id, right? I'm still doing a left join on the users table, where this is my left-hand table. So I'm selecting all the users, and here there's always going to be an ID, right? And so when I count them, I'll get the total number of users, and that'll be every row, essentially. But over here, there's not always going to be an ID, right? Because we saw those null values, and count only counts the non-null values. So what I'm looking for is that this is bigger than that, and it is. So to get my answer, which is wrong, I think, we do this. You can do count of the users.id, count of the comments, right? Basically this number divided by this number, all right? And first it shows you 0. Let's call this as percentage. So it shows you 0, but that's because of this whole float thing. So you have to do 1.0 times by, right? Turn at least one of these numbers into a float, and then it will show me percentage. And then from there, this is the percentage of users who have made a comment, right? Because it's the comments being present divided by total number of users. And then from there, we can do 1 minus this value. So 1 minus 0.31 gives you 0.68. So this has a bug in it. So we'll get to that in a second. But just for now, right, we have this count of the comments divided by count of the users, and maybe we're okay. I don't know. Part of me feels like, let's think about this. So the issue that was brought up is, well, what about users making duplicate, users making more than one comment? Aren't we double counting? Shouldn't this be, I guess this number would probably be higher. Users without a comment would be higher. So let's think about that. Basically what I want to know is, what is the dimension of the data? Meaning when I do this pd.read SQL, select all from users, join into the connection. Select all from users, left join comments on user ID. Let's do like a limit, 3. Okay. So we have a users table, and I guess the question is it possible to have more than one user displayed? And I think it is. I think it will do that, right? Because if you do, let's do count, select count star, right? That gives us one number. And now if this will be as number of rows, comma, and now let's do count distinct users.id, something like that. Yeah, look at that, guys. Do you get my point? So this is the number of users. Like we have like 3,000 users that are posting more than one comment, or something like that. We have there's a comment, there is a row for every. Basically, what we're getting is we're getting a row for every user, even the users, row for every user, including row for every user not making a comment. And we're also getting a row for every comment. Okay? And because of that, because a user can make more than one comment, you can see we're getting more rows than there are users who have made comments. Okay? So, in terms of fixing this, I think, let's think about what we need to do. Man, is it, I think we could take something on this comments table, but what should we take? We should take the comments.userid, right?
That's actually I was
distinct.
Exactly, and then we'll do a distinct on that. So
yeah, that's actually I was trying to do first when I asked you over there, because I was trying to get a subquery on the distinct user IDs and
right.
passing it to the main select statement through that.
Yeah. All right. So we will count the distinct user IDs on comments, right? So what this will do is we'll only, if we have kind of in terms of order of operation, if we have comments.user ID, if you think about this table and you have the number 1 for the user ID, the number 1 and the number 2 and the number 2, right? This will distinct it so that these are eliminated, and then it will count it up. All right? And that, I think, will be a better answer. So we'll count the number of users, of distinct users, divided by the total number of, and maybe we have to do it here too. Well, yeah, we probably do. Well, we probably do have to do it here too. Distinct users.id. Because the whole confusing part for me is you have the dimension is actually a row for every single comment, right? We have another row. So even this user's ID table, right? We'd have a row for every time they made a comment, and we want to count, the unique number of users. And so anyway, wow. So only 8%. Look at that. We were way off. All right. But now we know. So the point, so I hope you guys get the point of this. I'll send this out. For those of you who did it this way, who kind of caught this error, did you get a similar answer? This 0.92?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. We can talk about this again. But it seems like this is the right answer, right? So the whole thing, like at least my error, was in keeping track of the dimension of the data, all right? That really we have a row every time a user makes a comment, and we also have a row for those users not making a comment. And so to calculate the users, we have to calculate just how many users there are. We have to make sure we're not double counting these users in both for a total number of users. Make sure we're not double counting. And then also for those who are making a comment, we have the same issue, distinct that as well, to make sure we're not double counting that guy. So I can share this. But this is clever, like this is tricky, I think, like logically. But it also, I've seen this.
What's your final answer?
I got 0.920459. I've seen this type of problem on a leak code, like where you have to use the count distinct. Okay, so this is a valuable lesson. Okay, let me save this as a gist and send it to you all. All right, let me save this as a gist. Let's what I want to do is maybe let you all look at this. I'll put, we'll do a 10-minute break, and then we can go through the, I do want to talk about the schools lab. All right.